Hello and welcome to College Algebra Conics. Today we're going to talk about parabolas. So first let's talk about conics, something we're not really used to. What is a conic? A conic is the intersection of a plane and a double napped cone. So wherever I use this orange plane to intersect it, I create different shapes. Like for example here we create a circle. Here it's a stretched circle, which is called an ellipse we'll get to tomorrow. Here we have a parabola, that U shape. And here we get two parabolas that are aimed away from each other, a hyperbola. These are going to be the four main ones we're going to work with because point, a line, and two intersecting lines are things we should already be familiar with. So parabola, a lot of stuff we've already talked about in previous lectures. For example, we have the vertex where the parabola starts and our axis of symmetry probably used to. So we're really just adding two things here. One, the focus, and two, the directrix. So anywhere on this line or on this parabola, this distance is equal between the focus and the directrix. So what happens is you'll notice this directrix is horizontal when this axis of symmetry is vertical. They are always perpendicular with each other. You should also notice that the focus is a central point that's where the parabola is opening towards. The parabola will always open towards our focus and away from our directrix. Now, there's standardized formulas for these. Parabolas can either be horizontal or vertical. If they are vertical, you'll notice that the x is being squared. If they are horizontal, side to side, you'll notice the y is being squared. You should also notice that 4p is always opposite whatever is being squared. In terms of other things that are important, the vertex is HK, like it usually is. The focus in both situations is adding P to one of the two coordinates, or the directrix is subtracting P, which again should follow and make sense because those values or the parabola is equidistant from both. So quickly, I've made a formula sheet here where if it's vertical, you follow these ones where focus HK plus P, directrix YK minus P, or if it's horizontal, you follow these. And then we'll get into some of these other ones later. So, first one. The first thing I should do is figure out if this is horizontal or vertical. I see that the x is being squared, so I know it's going to be vertical. So I need to go out and identify my h, k, and p. Now if I flip to my formula sheet, remember that h is always what we're subtracting from x, k is always what we're subtracting from y, and 4p is that quantity right there. So looking at it, I'm not subtracting anything from x. In fact, I could write this as x minus 0 squared. So my h is going to be 0. Same idea here with this y. I'm not subtracting anything away from it, so my k is 0. Because again, my formula 4p y minus k equals x minus h squared. Which means, logically speaking, this 16 has to be equal to 4p. So 4p equals 16, therefore p equals 4. So we can plot our important coordinates. For example, our vertex is hk, so we're going to plot it at 0, 0. We know that our focus is, as we said earlier, h comma k plus p. Well, oh, that's a little sloppy there. So h is 0, so I get a 0 there. K is 0, P is 4. 0 plus 4 gives me a focus of 0, 4. And then I just have my axes. So my axis of symmetry, this is vertical, so it's going to be this vertical line of x equals h. so x equals 0. My directrix is going to be y equals k minus p, so 0 minus 4, so negative 4. We should label this y equals 0, or x equals 0. And lastly, my parabola starts my vertex, opens towards my focus, away from my directrix, so something like that. Okay. This next one will follow very similar logic. But h is being squared, so this is horizontal. I get an h of 0 because I'm subtracting 0 from x. I get a k of 0, so I'm subtracting 0 from y. 16 equals 4p. Therefore, p equals 4. And I can just simply plug in those coordinates. So my vertex always is hk. So we're going to get 0, 0. My focus is now h plus t comma k. I'm adding to the x value now. So I'm going to get 4, 0. My axis, because it's horizontal, is a y equals 0. And my directrix is now going to be vertical, so x equals h minus p. So I'm going to get 0 minus 4, so x equals negative 4. My parabola should open from my vertex towards my towards my focus, away from my directrix, so something like that. Okay. Here, x is being squared, so this has to be vertical. So find my h, k, and p. What am I subtracting from x? 0. What am I subtracting from y? 0. Therefore, negative 6 equals 4p. So p has to equal negative 1.5. Vertex h comma k, so 0, 0. Focus h, so 0, comma, k plus p, so 0 plus negative 1.5 gives me negative 1.5. Okay. My axis is going to be vertical, so x equals h, which is 0. And then my directrix is going to be horizontal. It's, y equals k minus p. So I'm going to get 0 minus negative 1.5. That's going to give me positive 1.5 because subtract negative is a positive. And then, of course, our thing opens towards our focus, away from our directrix. This one would just be similar to the last one. Okay. Here, same idea. What's being squared? The x is being squared, so this has to be vertical. So identify our h, k, and p. What am I taking away from x? Remember, it's supposed to be x minus h quantity squared. So my h is actually going to be negative 3 because minus negative 3 is the same thing as plus. What am I taking away from y? That's going to be 2, so k is 2, and then 4p equals 16, therefore p has to be 4. So what is our vertex? Our vertex is h comma k, so negative 3, 2. Our focus is h comma k plus p, so h stays, comma k plus p, 2 plus 4 is 6. Our axis is going to be x equals negative 3. And our directrix is going to be y equals, remember that's k minus p, so 2 minus 4, so we get y equals negative 2. And then our parabola opens up towards the focus, away from the directrix. So it'll be very similar. I see it's y squared, so it's going to be horizontal. What am I taking away from my x? I'm taking away negative 1. What am I taking away from y? Nothing. So what's the math? Nothing. That'd be 0. In p, well, 4p equals negative 6. So p equals negative 1.5. And from there, you would just do the rest of it where you plug it in and plot. Really, the two big steps, I think, are figuring out if it's vertical or horizontal, and then finding your variables. So after that, it's just plotting. Let's try something different, though. Writing the equation of a parabola in standard form. So again, the first thing I should still do is identify whether it's vertical or horizontal. Well, I'm given the center, so I know that this is H and K, and I should notice that for my focus, my H stayed the same. This is no longer K, so this has to be K plus P. So I'm going to consult my formula sheet. Which one of these has K plus P as the focus? That would be vertical. So I know that this, because this is K plus P, has to be a vertical equation. So I've identified it's vertical. I should now figure out H, K, and P. Good news. I know H and K are 0 from earlier, and I know that K plus P equals 1/2. And I know that K is 0. Therefore, P has to be 0.5. And then I could use the general equation for vertical. So that would be x minus h squared equals 4p y minus k, and just plug in the values. That's got to be 0. Sorry, this has to be 0, and this has to be 0.5. So x minus 0 is just x, so I get x squared on the left-hand side. 4 times a half, well, half of 4 is 2, and y minus 0 is just y, so I get x squared equals 2y. Over here, same idea. I know that my center is HK, and here I'm given that the directrix is an x equals. So looking at my, my formula sheet, I'll see that x equals h minus p is a horizontal. So I know first that this is horizontal and that negative 2 equals h minus p. So I can write down that h is 0, k is 0, and I could solve for p. So 0 minus p equals negative 2. Add p, add p, add 2, add 2. Or if you just wanted to divide by negative 1, you would notice that p equals 2. And because it's horizontal, we get y minus k squared equals 4p times x minus h. Just really make sure this is a k and not the h. Okay. Well, again, I know that h is 0, P is 2, sorry, K is 0, and H is 0. So I'm going to get y squared on the left-hand side. 4 times 2 is 8. X minus 0 is x. So I get y squared equals 8x on the right-hand side. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great day.